Good evening, I'm Charlene White. The Met Police Office has admitted that Londoners aren't using their pop-up police stations. They were brought in to replace traditional ones because they were shut down to save money. The contact points have been set up in shopping centres, but unlike regular stations, they're only open on certain days and often just for a few hours. Here's our correspondent, Simon Harris.
This is what Camberwell Police Station used to look like. Today, a picnic table pop-up cop shop in a nearby arcade. It's policing in the 21st century, but not as we know it. Beneath the slogan, quality products under £1, two coppers park themselves in front of a 99p store waiting for trade. Not everyone is impressed.
I think it's really disgusting. It really is, and I think that this area does need some policing.
If you've got shoppers in there, you know, doing their shopping and you're sitting telling your police all about your business, it's terrible, isn't it?
There used to be one around the corner, but it's gone.
What do you think of that?
It's not very good, really, because it's either Walworth Road or Peckham.
The Met has closed front counters at 63 police stations. They were open for a minimum of 40 hours a week. Instead, there are now 116 so-called contact points, but they only have to be available for 3 hours a week. This controversial change in police tactics has been driven by money. Closing 63 police stations will save the Met £20 million a year in running costs. If the contact points aren't being used that much, does it suggest this experiment is failing?
No, I wouldn't say that. What we know is that some contact points and some front counters in police stations aren't being used. Now, if I'm going to staff somewhere, I'd rather those officers are in a place where the public are, where they're visible.
But Labour claims leaked Scotland Yard figures reveal an average of 2 people a week using them.
In most of these venues, there is nowhere secure for you to have a confidential conversation. So all that will happen is you'll meet your police officer who will say, you need to go down to the police station, 63 of which have now been closed, of course.
According to one officer, the most frequently asked question at pop-up police counters is, "What are you doing here?" Simon Harris, ITV News, Camberwell.
Police have released CCTV footage of the moment a woman reached into a baby's pram and tried to strangle it. The attacker was heard saying that the baby would rather be dead after the child's mother managed to push her away. Emily Wither reports.
This CCTV footage shows the shocking moment a total stranger strangles an innocent 1-year-old baby, all in broad daylight at the Boots store on the Strand.
It was lunchtime here when the woman walked up to the mother and her baby, and as new mothers are often used to, she thought the woman had just come to take a look at her baby. But it immediately became clear that she had other intentions.
The woman reached in the pram, grabbing the baby by the throat. Witnesses report her saying that baby would rather be dead. Quick to react, the mother pushes the woman away before she is asked to leave by a security guard. The police are now trying to track her down.
The suspect then left the pharmacy on the Strand and then walked in towards Trafalgar Square. The clothing is very distinctive. It's a poncho with quite bright stripes going through it. And it's such distinctive clothing that family, friends and neighbours would probably recognise that person again. She was also wearing a distinctive deer stalker hat with the ear flaps down over her head.
Uncaught, police are concerned this woman might try and attack another baby. Emily Wither, ITV News.
A court heard that a professional poker player was killed for his winnings after being lured into a honey trap by a woman he'd met in a casino. The jury was shown mobile phone video of 3 people accused of his murder, allegedly waving £50 notes around after his death. Mehmet Hassan was killed in his flat in Islington last year. All 3 defendants deny the charges against them. The Health Ombudsman has found that the death of a 62-year-old woman could have been avoided if she'd been treated properly at Charing Cross Hospital. She died from sepsis after being discharged when tests proved inconclusive. The hospital has apologised to her family. A business which stands in the way of Tottenham Hotspur Stadium redevelopment has asked the High Court to quash the compulsory purchase order forcing them to move. Archway Sheet Metalworks, which stands on land needed for the new stadium, claims that order is invalid. The family of a man who died at Whipps Cross Hospital has accused nurses there of treating patients as numbers. Frederick Tolhurst died 14 days after being admitted. His granddaughter says he was left dehydrated and could still be alive if he'd had better treatment. She's been speaking to Luke Hanrahan.
We were only allowed to be there, the visiting times were 3 till 8.
These are the medical records of a 14-day stay at Whipps Cross Hospital in North London, which ended in the death of Joanna's granddad.
His lips would be dry and his mouth would look like he was gasping for a drink whenever you came on board.
So you believe for 7 days he went without water?
Apart from when we delivered it to him, yeah.
Frederick Tolhurst, a Second World War veteran and former post office employee, was 93 when last March he was admitted to hospital with a back injury. But his family say it was dehydration and lack of proper care and attention which led to his death.
I had a call at 10 to 2 to say that they'd gone to my grandfather and he was unresponsive. So they couldn't basically wake him, or later on I found out that he'd actually had violent sickness and diarrhoea that morning, and he'd been calling my mother's name, so he'd been calling Anne from early in the morning, from about 10 in the morning. They'd left him, and then by the afternoon he'd unfortunately gone into cardiac arrest and had died. He died 10 minutes after they phoned me.
Frederick was admitted to a ward designed to take in extra patients during the busier winter months, but his family say it was massively understaffed. Frederick Tolhurst's medical records clearly show he was neglected. His family believe he received a lack of care, compassion and dignity. And Bart's Health Trust has now admitted it badly let him down. In a statement, it said, "We are truly sorry for the experiences of Mr. Tolhurst and the distress it has caused to his family. The Trust is committed to doing all we can to ensure that any mistakes do not happen again."
There was never any sense that these were people. It was more like bodies in beds. It was numbers rather than names.
A granddaughter who believes systematic failures are to blame and will continue to fight for more answers. Luke Hanrahan, ITV News.
A South London jeweller has described the moment he fought off 2 robbers as they raided his shop in Twickenham. They rode up on a motorbike before storming into the shop with an axe. From Twickenham, Glenn Goodman reports.
10:44 yesterday morning on High Street, Witton, near Twickenham. Mark Guess and his brother Elliot are arranging the displays at the family jewellery shop when one of the men bursts in brandishing an axe. After less than 30 seconds, they're ready to leave, and Mark Guess is ready to make his move. His first swipe with a baseball bat hits the door frame. His second hits the robber in the back. And then Mark chases them up the road, but they manage to escape.
Just got angry and thought, you're not getting away with this. So I just tried to get him. It could go both ways. I ran after a man who had an axe, and he had there was someone else on his moped who was driving. Who knows what he had? So at the end of the day, I did what I did. I think in hindsight, maybe I shouldn't have done it.
By the time the robbers had finished, they'd got away with a lot of items purely from this cabinet here. The most expensive was a £15,000 diamond solitaire platinum ring. They also got away with a number of gold watches too.
The police are now appealing for witnesses. One of the questions they had for Mark was, why exactly did he have 2 baseball bats in his shop?
We had a little rounders match after work one summer's night. So, yeah, that's why they were there.
Mark Guess ending that report from Glenn Goodman. A man from South London has begun a legal challenge against plans to build a garden bridge over the River Thames. Michael Ball claims that planning permission was granted unlawfully because the Borough of Lambeth failed to protect views of the city and St Paul's Cathedral. The trust behind the bridge says it's pushing ahead with the project. Now, if you've had a bad day at work and need a new job, here's something that might inspire you. The list of London's most sought-after careers, from taxi drivers to TV presenters, accountants and estate agents. Which jobs do Londoners love most? Well, you might be surprised by some of the results, and you can see them all on our website, itv.com/London. Let's take a look at the weather now. Here's James.
freezing. And my cheeks red.
There we've had a bit of rain around this evening, but that's eventually going to clear away to give us a much finer day tomorrow. Tonight, well, we've got a little bit of rain left over. It's pushing away to the east. In behind it, some colder air and eventually some clearer air too. So lows down to 1 or maybe 0, enough for a touch of slipperiness on various surfaces. Tomorrow morning, then a fine start to the day. Temperatures get up to 6 to 8 Celsius into the afternoon, feeling much finer than today. And it looks like Wednesday's going to be pretty decent too.
New Covent Garden Soup sponsors the ITV London weekday weather.
That's it from us tonight, but we'll be back first thing tomorrow morning with updates during Good Morning Britain. So until then, all of us here